Welcome to my new YouTube channel. Enjoy watching. I never thought I'd get married again at 43, but life has a way of surprising you. My name is Isabella, and I met Arthur at a colleague's retirement party. He was charming, successful, and the years older than me. After my first marriage ended, I'd focused on raising my daughter Freya, never expecting to find love again, but Arthur changed all that. We clicked immediately, sharing the same dry sense of humor and love for quiet evenings at home. We both had our baggage, me with my daughter Freya and him with Evelyn. Freya was 21, then, already dating her boyfriend Jacob seriously. Evelyn was about the same age, living on her own and working at a jack-a-betting firm downtown. I remember being so nervous about meeting her, wanting to make a good impression. That first meeting should have been a warning sign. Evelyn barely looked at me, spending most of the dinner texting on her phone. When Arthur asked her what she thought of me later, she just shrugged and said she's fine. I guess Arthur and I decided to keep things simple when we got married. No big ceremony, just a quiet affair at City Hall with our closest family members. We celebrated at a small restaurant afterward, nothing fancy, but it felt perfect to me. Freya was there beaming with happiness for me. Evelyn showed up late and left early, claiming she had work commitments. Living together in Arthur's apartment took some adjustment. Freya visited often for dinner, and she and Arthur got along great. He'd help her with career advice, and they'd joke around like they'd known each other forever. But Evelyn, that was a different story. "Hi Evelyn, how's work going?" I'd ask when she'd come over. "Fine." She'd reply, not even looking up from her phone. "I made your favorite pasta, the one your dad mentioned, not hungry." Every conversation was like pulling teeth. I tried everything, asking about her job, her hobbies, her friends. Nothing worked. She'd dance in monosyllables if she bothered to answer at all. One evening I was heading to the kitchen when I overheard Evelyn talking to Arthur in his study. The door was slightly ajar, and I know I shouldn't have listened, but I couldn't help myself. "Dad, I just don't get what you see in her," Evelyn was saying, her voice dripping with disdain. "She's so basic. Nothing like Mom. Have you seen how she dresses? Total simpleton." I waited for Arthur to defend me. He just sighed and said, "Honey, give her a chance. She makes me happy." I walked away quietly, my heart heavy. I'd always known I wasn't some sophisticated socialite. I'm just an ordinary woman who tries to be kind and genuine, but hearing Evelyn's words hurt more than I expected. I was washing dishes one Sunday afternoon when Freya burst through the door, practically bouncing with excitement. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes were sparkling in a way I hadn't seen since she was a little girl. "Mom, Mom." She grabbed my wet hands, not caring about the soap. "Seuss." Jacob proposed. I dropped the plate I was holding back into the sink and pulled her into a tight hug. "Oh, sweetheart, tell me everything." We sat at the kitchen table, and Freya told me all about how Jacob had taken her to the spot where they had their first date. Arthur was at work, which was probably for the best. This was a moment just for us. He got down on one knee. "Mom," Freya said, showing me the ring, and you know what I thought about. Right after I said yes. I shook my head, smiling at her enthusiasm. "Your wedding dress, the one I used to try on when I was little. Remember how you'd let me parade around in it?" Even though it was practically swallowing me whole, my heart swelled. I'd kept that dress carefully preserved for 26 years, hoping for exactly this moment. I still have it. "Sweetie, it's in perfect condition." Freya's eyes widened. "Really, you'd let me wear it?" "Of course, I've been saving it for you all these years. Come on. Let's go look at it right now." We spent the next hour in my walk-in closet, carefully taking the dress out of its preservation box. Freya's eyes welled up when she saw it. The intricate beadwork still sparkled, and the silk was as creamy white as the day I'd first worn it. "Mom, it's even more beautiful than I remembered," she whispered, running her fingers over the fabric. "And you said this was from that famous designer, right? The one who just passed away last year." I nodded yes. It was one of his early pieces. I saved for months to afford it. $3,000 was a fortune back then. A few days later, I was scrolling through my social media feed when I saw Freya's post. My daughter had always had a flair for the dramatic, and this announcement was no exception. "In 6 months, I'll be walking down the aisle in something incredibly special." She'd written, "My mom's vintage wedding dress from one of fashion's most legendary designers, starting a new family tradition. All the women in our family will wear this piece of history. Can't wait to share photos of my beautiful mom in her youth wearing this dress alongside my wedding photos. Vintage bride family tradition designer." The comments started pouring in immediately. Freya's friends were going crazy over it. "Oh, my God, isn't that the designer whose vintage pieces are selling for like $50,000? Now you're so lucky, that dress must be worth a fortune. Please tell me you'll post the side-by-side photos. That's such a cool tradition." Freya responded to them all, clearly enjoying the excitement. When someone asked about the original price, she wrote, "Mom spent about $3,000 on it back then. Best investment ever." Right. As I read through the comments, I couldn't help but smile at my daughter's enthusiasm. But something in the back of my mind nagged at me, a strange feeling that this social media post was going to cause trouble. I just didn't know how right that feeling would turn out to be. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon when the doorbell rang. Arthur was at work, and I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door and saw Evelyn standing there, I almost didn't believe my eyes. In the 3 years I'd been married to Arthur, she had never once come to see me when her father wasn't home. "Can I come in?" she asked, her tone unusually polite. "I need to talk to you about something." I stepped aside, still trying to process this unexpected visit. "Of course. Would you like some coffee?" "No, thanks." She walked straight to the living room and sat down. Her designer purse perched perfectly on her lap. Something about her demeanor made me nervous. She seemed too composed, too deliberate. "I saw Freya's post," she said, without preamble, her fingers fidgeting with the clasp of her purse about the wedding dress. "Oh." I sat down across from her, wondering where this was going. Evelyn had never shown any interest in anything related to Freya before. "My wedding is in 5 months. She continued, looking directly at me for what felt like the first time ever, the months before Freya's. I nodded, still not quite following. "Yes, Arthur mentioned that the planning is going well." "I hope." Evelyn leaned forward slightly. "I want to wear the dress." The words hung in the air between us for a moment. I thought I'd misheard her. "The designer dress," she clarified, as if I might not understand the one Freya posted about. "I want to wear it at my wedding." My mouth opened and closed a few times before I found my voice. "Evelyn, I don't think that would be appropriate. That dress has been promised to Freya since she was a little girl, but I'm getting married first." She pressed her voice, taking on an edge I knew too well. "And I'm your stepdaughter now. Shouldn't that mean something?" I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. "Evelyn, Freya has been dreaming about wearing this dress since she was tiny. She used to put it on and twirl around in it when it was practically dragging on the floor behind her. It's been our special thing for over the decades. So reschedule her wedding," Evelyn said, as if it was the most obvious solution in the world. "Let me wear it first, then she can have it." I shook my head slowly. That's not how this works. Freya and Jacob have already booked their venues and save the dates. But listen, if you really want to wear the dress, maybe you could consider moving your wedding to after Freya. Then you could. Are you seriously suggesting I postpone my entire wedding? Her eyes narrowed. Think about it logically. I tried to reason with her. You're getting married first. If you wear the dress, everyone will see it in your wedding photos all over social media. You and Freya share so many mutual friends. They'll all see both weddings. Freya would be devastated to walk down the aisle in a dress that's already been splashed all over Instagram from your wedding. Can you understand how that would make her feel? Evelyn's face turned red, and she jumped to her feet so quickly that her designer purse fell to the floor. "You're just a selfish, greedy witch," she screamed, her composure completely shattered. "You've never wanted me to be part of this family. You probably get some sick pleasure from saying no to me." I stood up too, stunned by the sudden outburst. "Evelyn, please, that's not. Save it." She was practically shaking with rage. "Now you're just a gold digger who married my dad. And now you won't even do one nice thing for his real daughter. You're nothing but a mean, stingy, pathetic woman who thinks she's so special because she has some old designer dress." Tears were streaming down her face as she grabbed her purse from the floor. Her mascara was running, leaving black streaks down her cheeks. "Evelyn, please sit down. Let's talk about this rationally." "Rational? You want rational?" She was screaming so loud now that I was sure the neighbors could hear. "How's this for rational? I hate you. I've always hated you. And now I know I was right about you all along." She stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door so hard that the pictures rattled on the walls. I sank back onto the couch, my hands shaking. In 3 years of dealing with Evelyn cold shoulder, I'd never seen her lose control like that. I spent the next few hours in a day replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. When I heard Arthur's key in the lock that evening, my stomach clenched. I knew what was coming. He didn't even take off his coat. What the hell did you do to my daughter, Arthur? Please let me explain. Explain what he threw his briefcase on the chair. How you made my little girl cry. How you couldn't do one simple thing for her. I took a deep breath. It's not simple, and you know it. That dress has been promised to Freya since she was a child. It's been our special thing for 26 years. Evelyn is your family now, too. Arthur's voice rose. Or at least she's supposed to be. She's my daughter. Isabella, my daughter, and you treat her like she's nothing. That's not fair. I felt tears picking at my eyes. I've tried so hard with Evelyn for 3 years. I've tried, but this isn't about accepting her. This is about a promise I made to my daughter long before I even met you. It's just a dress. Arthur shouted. One day, that's all she's asking for. It's not just a dress. I was shouting now too. It's a symbol of everything I promised my daughter. It's about her childhood dreams, about the tradition we planned together. How can you not see that? All I see is my wife refusing to do something nice for my daughter. Something that would make her happy on the most important day of her life. And what about Freya? What about her happiness? Does that matter to you at all? Arthur's face hardened. Freya isn't my daughter. Those 5 words hung in the air between us, like poison. We stared at each other across the living room, both breathing hard, both realizing we'd crossed a line we couldn't easily come back from. The silence in our apartment was deafening. For the next few days, Arthur slept in the guest room, and we performed an awkward dance of avoiding each other, taking turns in the kitchen, waiting until the other person left a room before entering. The weight of unspoken words hung heavy between us. One evening, as I was making dinner, Arthur came into the kitchen and stood there, looking tired and worn. Neither of us spoke for a moment, just listening to the sound of pasta boiling on the stove. Arthur, I finally said, turning down the heat, I think I have a solution. He looked at me warily, but pulled out a kitchen chair and sat down. It was the first time we'd properly faced each other in days. There's this seamstress. I know Maria Rodriguez, she's incredible. One of the best in the city. She could make Evelyn a dress that's inspired by mine. Same style, same elegance. But uniquely, hers. Arthur's expression softened slightly, so I continued. Maria uses the finest materials. French lace, Italian silk. She's made dresses for some of the wealthiest families in town. My friend Sarah's daughter had her make her wedding dress last year, and it was absolutely stunning. Everyone at the wedding thought it was a designer piece. How much would something like that cost? Arthur asked, his voice less harsh than it had been in days. Don't worry about that, I said quickly. I want to pay for it. It would be my wedding gift to Evelyn. I really want to make this right. Arthur, I want to show Evelyn that I care about her happiness too. I could see hope flickering in Arthur's eyes. He reached for his phone. Let me call her right now. This could work. This could really work. I held my breath as he dialed Evelyn's number and put it on speaker. She answered on the 3rd ring. Dad. Honey, listen. Isabella has a great idea. There's this amazing seamstress who could make you a dress just like. Are you kidding me? Evelyn's voice cut through the kitchen like a knife. A knockoff. You want me to wear some cheap copycat dress made by some random local seamstress? Evelyn. She's actually very well known. I tried to interject. Shut up. She screamed through the phone. I don't want to hear your voice. I want the dress, the designer dress, not some pathetic imitation from some nobody dressmaker. Sweetheart, just listen. Arthur attempted. No, you listen. I need that dress, that exact dress. I'm not walking down the aisle in some bargain basement reproduction. God. I can't believe you're even suggesting this. Evelyn, please, this is insulting. I'd rather wear a trash bag than some fake version of that dress. Don't call me back unless you're going to tell me I can have the real thing. The call ended abruptly, leaving Arthur and me sitting in stunned silence at our kitchen table. The pasta was boiling over on the stove, but neither of us moved to turn it off. The next morning, I was making coffee when Arthur's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and immediately put it on speaker. Hi, Dad. Evelyn's voice filled the kitchen. She sounded calmer than yesterday, almost calculated. I've been thinking about this whole situation. Arthur shot me a helpful look. Yeah, what's on your mind, sweetheart? Well, since your wife is being so difficult about the dress, I noticed how she refused to use my name. I found another solution. I found this amazing designer dress. It's perfect. Actually, better than that old one. She's hoarding. That's great, honey. Arthur smiled, problem solve. Then almost it's $19,000. I nearly dropped my coffee mug. I figure, since she won't give me the dress, you can just give me the money. Instead, it's only fair, right? I watched Arthur's face carefully, expecting him to laugh it off. Instead, he was nodding thoughtfully. Let me think about it. Honey, we might be able to work something out. That's when I lost it. Are you out of your mind? I exploded $19,000, 19,000. Arthur covered the phone with his hand. Isabella, please. No, you please. I was shaking with anger. Now you're already paying for her entire wedding. The venue, the catering, the flowers, everything, and the week honeymoon in the Maldives. Have you completely lost your mind? Evelyn's voice came through the speaker. Oh, great. She's there, always trying to control everything. This is insane. I continued. This isn't about the dress anymore. This is emotional manipulation, and you're falling for it. Arthur's face darkened. None of this would be happening if you'd just given her the dress in the first place one day. Isabella, that's all she wanted. One damn day. Oh, so this is my fault. Your daughter throws a tantrum and demands $19,000. But somehow I'm the unreasonable one. Yes, it is your fault. He was shouting now too. You're the one who started all of this. You're the one who couldn't make one small sacrifice for my daughter's happiness. Small sacrifice? You want me to betray a promise I made to my daughter 26 years ago, and you call that a small sacrifice? Dad. Evelyn's voice cut in. Are you going to let her talk to you like this? Something snapped inside me without another word. I walked to our bedroom and pulled out my suitcase. Arthur followed me. What are you doing? What does it look like? I started throwing clothes into the suitcase. I'm leaving. I'm going back to my old apartment. You're being ridiculous. No, what's ridiculous is that you can't see what's happening here. What's ridiculous is that you're willing to throw away our marriage over a spoiled tantrum and $19,000. Isabella, stop. But I was already zipping up the suitcase. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and walked to the door. The last thing I heard as I left was Evelyn's voice from the phone. Dad, are you still there about that money? I hadn't planned on looking at Evelyn's wedding photos. In fact, I've been avoiding social media entirely since I moved back to my old apartment. But one evening after a glass of wine, curiosity got the better of me. The photos appeared perfect. Of course. Evelyn stood beaming in a clearly expensive dress. All lace and crystals, probably worth every penny of that $19,000. Her father stood proudly beside her, and I felt a pang in my chest, seeing Arthur in his tuxedo smiling like nothing was wrong in the world. Then I saw Evelyn caption beneath the main photo collection, "The most perfect day of my life." My heart is so full knowing that everyone who truly loves me was there to share this magical moment. No drama, no negativity, just pure joy and love. So grateful that nobody who wanted to spoil this special day was present. Perfect wedding, true Lowe family. First, my fingers tightened around my wine glass as I read it. The dig was obvious, subtle enough to seem innocent to outsiders, but clear as day to me. What hurt more than her words, though, was seeing Arthur's like on the post. He knew exactly what she meant, and he endorsed it. The months crawled by. I threw myself into helping Freya with her wedding preparations. Grateful for the distraction, she'd sent Arthur an invitation, complete with a handwritten note telling him how much his presence would mean to her. He never responded. The morning of Freya's wedding dawned bright and clear as I helped her into my dress, our dress. I couldn't hold back my tears. Mom, don't cry. Freya laughed, though. Her eyes were wet too. You'll ruin your makeup. Happy tears, baby. I assured her, adjusting the vintage lace around her shoulders, just happy tears. The dress fit her perfectly as if it had been made for this moment. The same dress I'd worn 26 years ago. The one she'd played dress-up in as a little girl. Seeing her in it, now radiant and grown-up, made every bit of drama worth it. I can't believe I'm finally wearing it for real, she whispered, turning to look in the mirror. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. The ceremony was everything we'd dreamed it would be. Freya practically floated down the aisle, the vintage silk rustling softly with each step. Jacob's face when he saw her, that look of pure love and awe, made my heart soar. I kept glancing at the empty seat where Arthur should have been, but I refused to let his absence dim the joy of the day. This was Freya's moment, the fulfillment of a childhood dream, and nothing could spoil that. During the reception, I watched my daughter twirling on the dance floor in my dress, laughing and happy, surrounded by people who truly loved her. No snide comments, no hidden agendas, no drama, just pure, uncomplicated joy. It's been 5 months since Freya's wedding. The seasons have changed, leaves have fallen, and my old apartment feels both familiar and strange. Sometimes I wake up reaching for Arthur's side of the bed only to remember he isn't. There hasn't been there for months now. Last week I finally packed away my own wedding photos, the ones from that simple ceremony at City Hall with Arthur. They've been sitting in a drawer since I moved back here like a question. I wasn't ready to answer as I tucked them into a box. I found myself wondering if he ever thinks about that day, about how happy we were before a wedding dress of all things tore us apart. Freya visits often. She and Jacob are settling into married life beautifully, and seeing her happiness helps confirm that I made the right choice yesterday over coffee. She asked if I regretted not giving Evelyn the dress. No, I told her honestly. Some promises need to be kept, no matter the cost. She squeezed my hand and said, "I'm sorry it cost you your marriage, Mom, but did it? Was it really the dress that ended things, or did it just expose cracks that were already there?" Arthur and I haven't spoken since Freya's wedding. No calls, no texts, not even through lawyers. Just silence. He hasn't made a single attempt to reach out, to try to understand my side of things, to find a way forward together. Sometimes when I'm alone at night, I imagine him picking up the phone, finally ready to talk. I picture us working through this, finding our way back to each other. After all, we did love each other once deeply, genuinely. Part of me still does, but I won't be the one to make that first call. I offered solutions. I tried to compromise. I even offered to pay for a beautiful, custom-made dress for Evelyn. What more could I have done? Some might say I'm being stubborn, that pride isn't worth losing a marriage over, but this isn't about pride. It's about standing up for what's right, about keeping your word, about teaching your children that their dreams and feelings matter. The wedding dress hangs in Freya's closet, now wrapped in tissue paper and memories. Sometimes I think about how something so beautiful, something meant to symbolize love and tradition, became the catalyst for so much pain. But then I remember Freya's face when she wore it, the way she glowed walking down the aisle. And I know I'd make the same choice again. Maybe someday Arthur will understand that. Maybe someday he'll realize that true love means supporting each other's principles, not just giving in to demands. Maybe someday we'll find our way back to that simple happiness we had before. But until then, I'll be here in my old apartment living with my choice, because sometimes doing the right thing means walking a lonely path. And sometimes love means knowing when to stand your ground, even if it means standing alone. If you enjoyed this suspenseful story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot and helps me create more captivating stories for you. Thank you for being part of this journey.